Prime Minister Mark Carney has a minority government, 2 seats shy of a majority, but he managed to survive a confidence vote on the budget last night without any public amendments or concessions to the opposition, passing with 170 yeas, 168 nays, and 4 abstentions, 2 from the NDP and 2 from the Conservatives. Steve MacKinnon is the government's House Leader. Hi, Minister. Welcome back to the program. Thank you so much for making the time.
Thanks for having me.
Congratulations on your budget passing. I wanted to start off by asking you, were you aware of who would abstain? Did you make any kind of deal, for example, with Matt Genereux or the members from the NDP?
No, we were in the dark. I was reasonably confident, Vashi, that the vote would succeed, that the budget would pass. But I could not lay out a roadmap of how that was going to occur. So I watched it with interest, just as I'm sure you and all your viewers did.
Do you plan on doing anything differently moving forward to alleviate that lack of knowledge about how things are going to go?
Well, look, let me give you perhaps a little secret about the House of Commons. I think once people, as I think back over the events of the last 24 hours, I think people, as they realize that a vote is going one way or another, ensure that you know, the vote is tight, or the vote reflects, you know, a certain freedom or liberty to protest without perhaps having the consequences, such as you know, causing a Christmas election. So I think that's why you saw a tight vote. I can point to other votes where we've attracted the support of this party or that party, and we'll continue to take that on a case-by-case basis.
Sure, I think the reason I'm asking about this vote in particular is because should it have not gone forward, we would be facing a very different situation as Canadians, potentially looking down the barrel of an election. And I think in particular, as I listened to the opposition parties today, the NDP and the Bloc, both of whom described you and your government as immovable around this budget. I wondered, is that in the spirit of a minority parliament? And wouldn't Canadians expect something different?
Well, had we amended the budget, we'd be having a different conversation, you and I. You know, it's a very rare thing to amend a budget, and certainly we think it is a plan that reflects the mandate that we received in the April election. We think it's a plan that is a generational investment in Canada in helping our young people succeed. And we spent some time with the opposition certainly explaining some of these priorities behind the scenes, talking about programs or projects in specific places that could be conceivably funded under some of these investments. But we believe the budget is of a piece, and we were very, very happy that it was able to attract the majority of parliamentarians.
But a very slim majority. A majority, to be fair, but a very slim majority, right? By just two votes and the necessity of abstentions. And so I'm not talking about amending the budget, and we've spoken about this before, but the opposition continues to say, even in the lead up to the introduction of the budget, they did not feel that what your government did in the way of conversation and consultation was meaningful. I understand that you have a position to advance, but you have many times said that Canadians did not want an election, that, you know, they've just had one. So why wouldn't you do everything in your power in the spirit of minority parliament to make sure that wasn't the case?
Well, I can certify that there were many robust exchanges with members of opposition parties over the course of the last couple of weeks leading up to the vote. I can assure everyone that we've heard out the Conservatives, the New Democrats, the Bloc Québécois, on the things that are important to them. We were able to point to things in the budget that would in fact satisfy some of those concerns. So I don't agree with the premise at all that we were not open to discussions or to exchanges on the budget, but a government must present a budget and opposition parties must decide whether they're going to support it or not. This is a time-worn tradition in Canada, and we're very, very gratified that after all of those discussions and those exchanges that more parliamentarians voted for the budget than those who voted against it.
I do want to ask about a couple of things in the budget now that it will advance, in particular in relation to something that I know matters to many of your constituents, and that is the cuts to the public service. The union representing the public service is on the Hill today. They're talking to MPs. If I could ask you bluntly, Minister, how many public servants currently employed will lose their jobs?
Well, we don't know the answer to that question. The fact is that there is natural attrition. It's hard to predict, although there are, of course, historical patterns. There will be a voluntary retirement package that people will be able to access, and that may well accelerate retirements and hence avoid layoffs. I've said, I think to you and others, in recent times, Vashi, that I believe that the impact on people, involuntary departures, will be minimal, and that is certainly a desirable thing. We believe in our public service, we believe in their contributions, and we have a lot of work to do. So we're going to be counting on a robust, rejuvenated public service as we deliver this very exciting set of programs and initiatives to Canadians.
I'm wondering what evidence you have to support the idea that attrition and some sort of retirement incentive alone can get you to the target of an additional 30,000 job cuts, because I have not seen any outside analysis that supports that. And I think there are a lot of families tonight of public servants, and those public servants themselves, like I said, many of whom are in your riding, who have no clarity at all from your government about whether they are about to lose their job. Can you offer them that clarity tonight?
Well, one job loss is too many, and we want to avoid those. And I would just, in terms of perhaps resetting your question just a little bit, we've already gone through, and the budget gathers up some reductions and restraint that has occurred already in the past 12 to 18 months. So a number of positions have already been eliminated. These developments have been widely reported, and those are counted in the numbers that you just cited. So again, I just want to reiterate, we've not gone into this with any kind of objective of people losing their jobs. We would find that regrettable if that were widespread. I believe it will be minimal. I believe that we've approached this with a scalpel and not a hacksaw like others would bring to this job. And we're going to make sure that we have a robust public service that can help us deliver on this budget and on our priorities.
Respectfully, Minister, what does minimal mean? Because I actually did, in my calculation, separate the jobs that have been eliminated through attrition, because the budget identifies 40,000, 10,000 have already been gone through attrition. So 30,000 is what you're left with. Attrition alone will not get you there. There is no outside analysis to support that point. When you say you're hopeful there will be minimal job loss, quantify, if you could, what that means. And if you can't, why not?
Well, again, the public service is a complex organization. There are, in some places, defense, for example, opportunities open up as priorities shift to that category of spending, and that will correspondingly generate some employment in the public service. In other places where a program or an initiative has been deemed surplus or subject to restraint, that may engender, of course, some reductions, depending on who occupies those jobs, someone close to retirement, someone who wanted to move on to another challenge. In any event, which is hard to predict at this point, you will see, I think, very few involuntary job losses throughout the public service, and we have every hope that we can minimize those things.
The budget, though, offers very little in the way of transparency as to which departments will see what level of cuts or what kind of cuts or how many. Again, I take your point that there is work to do to figure that out, but if I'm a public servant, imagine yourself being in their shoes, listening to this tonight, you have no detail to provide them any comfort other than you hope that the cuts will be minimal.
Well, I have no trouble putting myself in their shoes because I live among them. They're my neighbors, they're my friends. I speak to public servants every day. I respect and value the work that they do, and I understand that these cause uncertainty. We have a plan. We have a plan that we think minimizes the impact on public servants, but we also have a sizable deficit, as we've discussed many times. We've also made significant investments in programs and in projects that we think are going to help the economy move and generate more job opportunities. And we'll be very, very focused in Ottawa-Gatineau and right around the country at making sure there continues to be robust employment opportunities in the public sector and, of course, in the private sector.
Why should public servants trust you when you say that? I can think back 10 years to when, or more than 10 years, pardon me, when then Prime Minister Stephen Harper was looking at the prospect and promising the prospect of something that, you know, wouldn't necessarily hurt too much, but had to trim the size of the public service. And I remember Liberals at the time vehemently saying, like, why should we trust you? How bad is this going to get? Why should Canadians just simply trust your government when that level of detail is nowhere to be found in the budget?
Well, again, I think we need to, you know, just kind of reset the assumptions here. The public service has grown over the past several years. The pandemic has been a main contributor to that. We expanded supports for Canadians. We expanded on a number of initiatives. We are making a change. We are pivoting to a growth agenda, an agenda that grows jobs, grows our economy, grows opportunities for young people. That will necessarily, like in any organization, involve some shifts of people. We will try and, of course, minimize the impact of those on human beings. We want qualified and energetic and motivated people in our public service. We want to continue to attract the best and brightest to the public service, Vashi. But there has been a lot of growth in the public service, and I think some trimming is reasonable, all the while keeping an eye on impact on families and people that I represent, and you can be sure that I am sticking up for them every day.
Okay, I'm going to leave it on that note. Minister, thank you so much for your time, as always. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Vashi.